G'day, welcome to Goat Fantasy. Great to have your company. It's the Saturday Coffee Run edition. All right, Goat Fantasy Podcast brought to you by checkmyrates.au. Visit the website. It's free to use. Take control of the financial future. So we're going to do our Saturday Coffee Run a little bit differently this week. Chloe Williams, Supercoach Guru, is with us. Chloe, hello, how are you?
I am very good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. My first time on, so happy to be a part of it.
Hey, Chloe, can you just give us the rundown of your role with Supercoach?
Yeah, so I'm working at Supercoach as the social media producer at the moment. So I'm doing all the socials for AFL, of course, and then every other game that we have and games that we've added as well. So I do get to be pretty involved in the day-to-day with that too. And I get to chew Al's ear off for all of his advice for most of the day. So it's very beneficial to my team too.
I think that Al should be asking you for advice, to be honest, and that this is why I'll get you on for a chat, especially for our Supercoach listeners. I know there's probably traditionally been more of a fantasy lean on Goat Fantasy, but Supercoach, I'm starting to do. Maybe I'm a better Supercoach player than I am fantasy now. So the lean is real for me going the other way. So can you just the rundown where you're at? Because it's a fairly impressive season you've put together so far.
Yeah, and I've timed my run to come and chat with you pretty well because I'm sitting at 417th overall at the moment, which I will admit is my best standing I've had since I started playing Supercoach quite a few years ago. So very good timing for me. But I would say did some good research in the preseason. I won't necessarily say got lucky, but I picked Archie Roberts as a starting pick. Clayton Oliver has actually been one who has really helped me out as well. And then some good rookie picks really set me up for a good year. So happy with where I'm at the moment.
So you're 417, which is impressive. So well done. You're having a great day.
Thank you.
But also you feels like, I think someone either mentioned to me or I saw it somewhere that you've also got a fair portion of trades as well.
Yeah, so the rumor going around at some point in time a couple of weeks ago was that I had 20 trades left, which I did, but that was before trading about 2 weeks ago. So I am still sitting decently well. I've got 11 trades after trading this week. I've done 3 trades this week, which I'm still really happy with, but no longer have 20, unfortunately. And I would have liked to probably use a few less over the past couple of weeks. But yeah, the Roberts injury and a few other things had to pivot. So
yeah, the whole season has had a lot of forced trades. Have you been able to avoid a few of those? Is that why you're able to keep the tally quite high until recently?
Yeah, a few of them I avoided, but probably more of the niche ones, like say someone like an Errol Goulden. But I've done a few. I was actually reflecting on it. I have had a few injured players. I had Tim English and Sherry and then flipped them around a couple of times, like back when Sherry got suspended. I brought Naz in before that weird calf scenario, so never got any points out of him. I had to trade him straight back out. I did hold Noah Anderson, though, through the appendix, which I think was a pretty big win considering how he scored since then. So there's been a few positives, but I have also been involved in some of the carnage. So some of it we couldn't really escape.
So you've made a few pretty smart moves. All right, we're going to come back to how you're sitting and whether you're a chance to push into the top 100 and maybe even beyond. But let's just talk about the games because I'm not sure if I haven't done it really much this season, but the Saturday Coffee Run is actually one of my favorite podcasts. It's just a chilled vibe. Latte in hand on a Saturday, ideally. So Crows and D's today is the first game. I feel like, Jordan Dawson is getting front and square for a lot of us, maybe a VC, maybe a C, depending on what you did with Jackson on Thursday night footy. But when you think about the Crows and D's game, where's your head at?
Yeah, I think Jordan Dawson's obviously a big one. And there was that presser with Stephen King. He was saying that it would be more a team-based approach, which is probably a win for all of us fantasy coaches in various formats. And I was actually considering him as my VC before Al said to me on the way out, like, don't forget about Jackson. And luckily I put the VC on him. But it is pretty early if you've used Jackson as your VC to go with Dawson as the C. But he's just been in such hot form. I think that last week I brought him in and I had the VC on him. And I'm not going to say it was a fluke, but I wasn't expecting a 180. So I don't know if we'll get 180s Supercoach-wise every week, but I'm sure he'll still go great against Melbourne. I think they have been, though, conceding points to mids based on data, but I think it's more mids as a collective. I don't really think they've been conceding those massive mid scores. It's just maybe every single mid will score like 80 to 110, but one of them won't necessarily go gangbusters. So I would probably just be a bit mindful of that. But the other one that springs to mind is Cozzy Pickett, of course. And then the matchup between Lockie McAndrew and Max Gawn, I think will be a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably like Gawn's been a great CLC option over the last couple of weeks while he's been solo, but I just think Lockie McAndrew is having such a fantastic season, and he is really competitive in the centre bounce side. Doesn't feel like Gawn is necessarily that option this week, but I think with Dawson in this game, clearly he's going to be the guy we've got some sort of captaincy marker on. So Fitzgerald had a really good start to his Melbourne career. Where do you sit on the possibility of bringing him in this week, sort of maybe a week early with the bye to come, or are you going to watch him from a distance?
Well, I would say that probably part of the reason why I was able to save on a few trades this year was because I waited a lot rather than going early, which is something that I've done in the past. But I've probably neglected every smart move I made earlier in the year in the past few weeks. So I am going early on him. I guess you get a bit desperate. So I am bringing him in this week. I think he did enough, and they seem to be pretty keen on him. I think I'd prefer like a Hawker Hahn type. His role seems a bit safer, but it was good to see that type of scoring from Fitzgerald, and that was enough for me in a time of desperation to bring him in.
Well, I think ultimately every level that he's played, every team that he's played for, he's accumulated a lot of disposals. That's not the be-all and end-all in Supercoach, but it's a pretty good start for a guy who's priced where he is. And I think, say like this week, I think the way you can make a bit of money to make one of your moves, even though he's not playing next week, I think you get points on field this week, and I think it's probably worthwhile. Is Hahn on bubble as well?
Yeah.
I had him for a couple of weeks, but that's sort of out of sight, out of mind, because I just love the idea of a rebounding defender coming in and being on field straight away. So there's a couple of guys you can look at this week in this game from a rookie perspective. And then is there any part of you that looks at Isaac Rankin and you're like, I probably need to fill out my forward line? It's pretty bold going him 1 week off the card.
Yeah, I think it is pretty bold. I know of at least one person who is going there, but for me personally, I just think with the injury history as well, it would just make me a little bit nervous, especially if you don't have the comfort of having a couple extra trades in your back pocket. But it's definitely tempting with his scoring power. So it will either go one way or the other. I think I'm not really in a spot where I want to take that risk. I've already taken a couple of others. So, but if you feel like you want to take a risk, he's definitely a good play to gamble on, I would say.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. So Saturday afternoon at NG Stadium, up against the Blues. Not a lot of movement in the team here, but it feels like if you're an Archie Roberts owner, if you don't have Whitfield or Ash, you can display as far as a defensive premium.
Yeah, definitely. Luckily for me, I've had both Whitfield and Ash for probably a fair amount of time now, and neither of them have particularly let me down. Even when Ash was playing some midfield minutes, he was still going in the 90s, I believe. So both of them, either one of them will get 140 and one of them will get like 99, or they'll both get a 120. So I think that there's neither of them really that I would prefer to own. I think they're both great picks if you don't have either of them.
So if you already have both and you're an Archie on the staff, where are you going?
I was lucky because I had Max Holmes in my flex last week. So there wasn't really anyone who was jumping out at me. So I just flicked him back and I bought Tristan Sherry in, which I still don't really know how I feel about that. I was planning to get Dacos, had my arm twisted a little bit on Sherry. I thought, why not try and go for the ceiling rather than the consistency. So we'll see.
All right. Let's save our Sherry chat until we get to the North Melbourne game. I think there's not really much to talk about from a Blues perspective. For GWS, your thing and all that has been a tremendous move. So well done to you. And clearly, like the fact that they had pretty thin midfield into the season, through injury and players leaving and whatnot, he's been an absolute slam dunk. So well done to you. So Pies and Port Adelaide Saturday night. So Dacos is interesting. I'm surprised that you don't have Nick in your side. And this feels like the perfect opportunity to bring him in.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? That is what I've been thinking. I'm not probably going to back out of Sherry at the last minute, but the whole week I've been kind of planning on getting Dacos and just missing on Sherry because I thought last week would be the week would get Sherry if I was to buy him. But Dacos is definitely scaring me as a non-owner. I just think for him this year, it hasn't even been the tags. It's just been his kicking efficiency, really, or those missed kicks inside 50 that could have led to a goal assist, like just the small things that he's kind of prevented himself, from getting a 140. So, yeah, it's very ominous. I won't say I'm not scared about it.
Well, I mean, the difference there is like he probably set up Jack Elliott for about 30 or 40 goals last year, and he hasn't had it. Elliott didn't have the year that he had last year and now injured. There's not as many middle targets inside 50 for Dacos to kick to, unfortunately. So historically, he has struggled against Port Adelaide. I think Willem Drew has been able to curtail his influence to a point when they've played against the Power. The Pies always beat Port. I think they're 5-0, but Dacos never dominates, which is a really interesting sort of juxtaposition. I get the feeling Saturday night could buck the trend. I think Dacos potentially has a big night. I'm not ruling Port Adelaide out from winning this game, although losing Wines and Farrell is a boo for them. So if we project ahead to Sunday, so Tristan Sherry, as you would well know because you've clearly done your research, has sort of been losing some of his CBAs because of his lack of ability to win hit-outs in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's not putting you off?
I mean, it was for a while. But then Al and I went on a bit of a deep dive yesterday looking at his ruck contests rather than just the CBAs. And there is quite a dip there. I would say a dip of about 20 in comparison to when he was really scoring the huge scores at the start of the year. But then the argument was more so, we were all freaking out for a while about Max Gawn and Max Heath. And now that's kind of a bit of a non-issue. So I'm kind of more just hoping that in a month's time or 2 months' time, we'll look back on it and laugh about how we thought we shouldn't buy him, which obviously it could quite easily go the other way, especially with the way that they're lining up at the moment. So I'm not saying it with full confidence that I'm not worried about the CBAs, I watched the game last week and a lot of his score did come from those sorts of moments and marks down the line rather than his actual ruck work. So that's something to be mindful of as well. But I'm also going into the Sherry trade knowing that I've got a few trades up my sleeve that I could potentially, if it goes really bad, I could bail out. So I will preface it with that I do have a bit of somewhat of an exit plan, but I think against Richmond as well, he historically scores pretty well. So hopefully he can get the sugar hit and that might make me feel a bit better about it, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, you've got the safety net, so that's key. But so Nankervis is back, but he's going to play limited game time, probably between 50 and 60%. And then I guess it's up to them if they want to go with Harry Brown or Walter as the other ruck.
Yeah.
But traditionally, Nankervis just concedes so much. He scores well himself, but the other ruckman always seem to score well. And you can sort of see, picture the MCG on Sunday. There's going to be a lot of Sherry takes one out of the ruck, kicks it forward, then Nank the next one, and then they tackle each other. And I just get that sense it's going to be they're both going to score well. So I think this week in particular, I think it's a really interesting match. That probably was last week against West Coast Invaders as well. What are your thoughts on Harry Sheasel? So he traditionally is someone who dominates against Richmond. If your VCs haven't worked out, would you be comfortable putting the C on Shees?
Definitely. Yeah. I think if I hadn't have brought Sherry in this week, he was going to be my default C if Jackson didn't work out or Dawson when I initially had the VC on Dawson. But if you don't have him, I would be very happy to put it on Sheasel.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's got him right. So it's one of those things. If he ends up popping for a C and you took the risk and went with it, it's going to be a really good move for you. Last game of the round is Saints and Dog Marvel. So Tom Liberatore is back for the Western Bulldogs, and probably Jack Higgins, you'd think, makes that squad for St Kilda. So I've seen, it was the fellas earlier in the week, we're talking about Nasiah being the number one trade target because he is priced remarkably in Supercoach, considering the output that he can produce. How do you feel about the possibility of trading with a tag hanging over his head every week, and then also the fact that he has a bye coming up?
Yeah, I would say no, just because my team is not sitting very great for next week's bye rounds. Like if you have maybe like 2 or 3 players on the bye for some reason, then potentially I would go there if you know that you want him in your final squad anyway. But the tag thing kind of put me off him all year. And then when I finally bought him in, it was right before the calf thing. I had to trade him right back out again. So I do think that he's good buying, especially at the price. But if you can, I would wait till after the buy. I know that he will go up in price, but I just don't think it's worth having someone missing unless, of course, you're in a good spot for next week's buy. Because then I think, of course, you still don't really want to buy into someone who isn't going to score you any points next week. But if they're going to be in your final team, it could save you a trade compared to buying someone now and then buying him later. So, yeah, I think it's individual, but I personally wouldn't be putting him very high on my list this week.
It's purely buy structure, isn't it? You got to be able to handle it next week. So from a Saints perspective, I mean, if you didn't have Jack Sinclair, it feels it'd be a pretty nice move from Archie Roberts. I know a lot of us are shopping in that premium defender area this week. And then Bailey Dale, I like as well. I feel like he's a pretty premium price, like pretty expensive right now, but he rarely lets us down. He's been awesome dogs many years. So that's the round of footy. So I did want to ask you about how you plan handling next week. I don't think you'll be alone in having a lot of players on the buy. So what's the right way to handle it? Are you going to cop it on the chin, or are you thinking there could be some moves that you can make to soften the blow?
Yeah, look, for the most part, I think I'll just have to cop it on the chin. I think I've done pretty well the past 2 weeks, which I think most people have really, though, in terms of player availability. And I know that there are quite a lot of people in the same boat, as you said, next week. So there will be probably some people who will see quite a spike or a drop in their ranking just for the 1 week if they either have, I don't know, more than 6 maybe, or less than 3 or 2 primos on the buy. It could swing either way, but potentially I do have Cal Wilkie, who was kind of a panic buy, to be honest, and it's been kind of disappointing. So if he really lets me down this week, I do still think he'll come good, but if he really lets me down this week, that could be my license to do a bit of a raid trade and maybe bail out of that. But a couple of the other players I have, Artie Jones, I'll probably trade him anyway because he's ready to go. I've just timed that well with the buy. But yeah, I've got quite a few primos on this buy, so that's probably more of my issue. I don't know. I think I'll just have to cop it. I don't really have a strategy because I like all the primos that I have on the buy. They've all been good for me, so I'm not really willing to bail out of any of them except for Wilkie, I would say.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, a lot of us are going to be carrying Bond through it, Sinclair through it, and those Cats boys, depending on how many you've got. Holmes has been awesome for us, hasn't he? And I guess he's Gorn's week as well, isn't he? So, yeah, there's Cozzy Pickett. There's a few. So, yeah, we'll all be bracing ourselves. A couple of names I want to run past you, which we haven't touched yet. So, Jordan De Goey and Brent Daniels. Do you have a lean between those two?
I don't know what it is with De Goey. Maybe it's just a slight Carlton bias that lives rent-free in my mind, but I just have never really been willing to go there. But Brent Daniels is definitely someone who has piqued my interest with his increased CBAs, just because we've seen him score. I mean, I guess you could say the same for De Goey, but we've seen Daniels score so highly in that sort of role before. And obviously they tried Ash through the midfield for a bit, didn't really work. Daniel seems to be having a good impact as he has in the past. So I think that that's probably more of a secure role. But yeah, I mean, De Goey could be a nice little pod too. So I think personally I would trust Daniels a bit more though. What do you think about those two guys?
Yeah, I actually got Daniels last week.
Nice.
It was a Filippo to Daniels move, which to me was sort of like I couldn't lose because Filippo had obviously been omitted. The CBAs sort of felt like a bit of a free hit at Daniels' price. So that's gone well to the point where Ross first put Windhager on him in the second quarter and then put Hugo Garcia on him in the fourth quarter. Like that's how well he was playing, which is quite amazing, really, considering Oliver was also playing. So I actually started with De Goey because I thought he was priced at about 320K. And I thought he's fit. He's had a good preseason. He's probably going to play midfield. To me, that just seemed like a great starting pick. And then I did like 250s or 260s, and I cracked the shits and traded him. So there's part of me that thinks I don't really want to have to go back there. But I think he's a great pick. I think he's been in tremendous form. I think fatherhood clearly suiting him. More time at home, less time on the beers probably has helped him. And he looks like a complete player at the moment. His body's in good order. So, yeah, I think you can't go wrong with either. To be honest, if you get both, I think that's great because the forward line has been tricky for us, hasn't it? Like whoever we brought in really hasn't.
Yeah.
Like when we've looked at premiums, like Ozzy had a dip. Petrarca hasn't been that great. Rochelle didn't pan out. Murphy Reed's been awesome. But is he a top six? Like, it's been a really tough line to capture this year. So, yeah, I think Daniels and Joey both do a lot for their price. Just quickly, Hawthorn are coming off their bye, Chloe. I'm not sure if you've looked at their run home, but there are a lot of games that Hawthorn I think will win on the run home, and there's certainly some they can run up the score against. Are there any Hawthorn players that you feel like you'd want to buy into?
Oh, I have been thinking about Will Day pretty much since he came back about whether or not I could find some room for him somewhere. Since buying Sherry, I probably can't because I don't have heaps of room in the midfield. But I just think at his price too, if you have the money, he could be the perfect extra, almost like even a 24th if you have the luxury of having a 24th primo. I feel like he could be perfect for that. But you couldn't really go wrong with Newcomb either. But I just think Day mainly for the price and the ceiling as well. Newcomb is pretty safe, I would say. But, those sorts of games that Day can have, especially once he gets a few more games under his belt, I feel like he could be a huge pod towards the back end of the year. So I would definitely be considering either of those two with their run home personally.
Yeah, it's a shame that it works well for them, but it's a shame that they really do. They share points down back, don't they? Like it's Ippy one week and then another game on. So that defensively, it sort of doesn't feel like there's one that you could buy into thinking that you're safely going to get really big score, the run home. But he's about 400K. Like he's certainly at a pretty enticing price. If you could put two rookies together and come out with them, and that would be a great result. But I'm really pumped for you, Chloe. I'm pretty excited. Like I'm happy with my. I'm in the 3,000s or something. I feel like I'm coming home with sale. But
really good.
But was it 471?
I think 417.
417.
But I would take 471 by the end of the round. We'll see how this round pans out.
We're excited. So you mentioned that you've made a couple of really good selections. Like give me a move of the year as we farewell.
Move of the year. Wow. Okay. That's a big one. I honestly think it was last week because I brought in Jordan Dawson with the VC. So that's probably recency bias as well. But it was just this kind of strange series of events that led me to, because I was also considering getting Dacos, even though he was on his bye. That's how long I've been thinking about getting Dacos for. So Willem Dersma was out at the last minute with that mysterious, I think they said it was a calf injury. Maybe he was just being rested before the bye. But so I was just planning on carrying him really throughout the end of the year. And then I thought, you know what? He's not getting me points this week. I may as well go and get some points. I'll just get Dawson. And then, the 184 on the VC, I think that was pretty good. So, but also just starting Archie Roberts, as I mentioned before, I think ended up being pretty beneficial. So both of those.
It's so funny you say that because I nearly used my boost to get Dersma to Dawson, but I was like, oh no, I'll save the trades, and Dersma's still going to be good down the bench. My extra midfielder, I was bloody close to doing it, but I turned Dyson into Dawson this week because
that's nice. Yeah,
laying around.
Yeah, I would love to have Dersma still. I think that would be great to carry home, but it was just kind of quickly parted ways with him. But it would have been nice to carry him all the way through. So
he's coming on the end of season trip for sure, and I feel like he's going to be someone who we talk about every year. Like he is a brilliant super coach player. Okay, Chloe, appreciate your time on Goat Fantasy. Good luck for the run home. If you start to make some more inroads towards the top echelon, we'll have to get you back for some more super coach advice. But we appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Chat soon.
See ya.